What's up, guys? My name is Andrew and welcome back to Safari Land. This is episode number 5, and today we're working a lot on the entranceway. So last episode we were working a lot on the parking area, but we're taking a bit of a break. Even though it's not completely finished yet, I wanted to move on to something a little bit different before we go back and work on the parking, maybe in like a live stream or something. So today we're working on the entrance, and we get quite a bit done. Today on both sides of the entrance leading up to the actual ticket entrance area. So you'll see what I mean in a little bit. So the first thing we're doing is we're going to make a little awning thing for the whatever that's called, the trolley that brings people from the parking area to the main area. And this is for mainly for shade kind of thing. So people would step out into that area, and you know, it's not going to provide that much shade, but I think it looks a little bit better than just having an open station for the trolley. So it kind of defines the area as this is the trolley station, this is where you go, this is where you come from, that sort of thing. So pretty simple thing. It doesn't have that much detail, but it's got what we want it to have. So what we're gonna do is you'll notice a lot in this episode. We're gonna fill a lot of the blank space with foliage, and I think that's what parks do a lot as well. You know, when they can't throw in a building or an attraction or something like that, they're gonna throw in foliage, because foliage is well, it's cheap and it's easy and it looks pretty. So that's what we're doing as well. We're just gonna throw in some foliage, and we're gonna start with rocks. I like rocks as a kind of like a barrier, so people don't just step into your flowers or your plants that we have. And then we're gonna throw in some flowers and such. Big assortment of flowers. We're not just going for one type throughout the whole area, because you rarely will see one type of flower in one flower bed. You're going to see lots of different types. So I really liked what we did last episode with the lavender, the purple flowers. So I did that as well in this little area as well. So we're going to do a little bit more on this, and I think we're going to do quite a bit more of this foliage following alongside that trolley, because if you think of behind the camera right now, so the area behind us, that's where I think is going to be some backstage. So if you're coming in on the trolley to the right side of that, that's going to be some backstage area, and we don't want people to actually see all that, so we're going to throw foliage alongside the trolley as well. But we didn't do that in this episode, so we're going to have to do that. Maybe next episode we'll do a big backstage pass or something like that, so we can get some of that figured out. Excuse me. But in this little corner, I didn't really know what to do, so I'm just gonna do a little flower pot kind of thing with only a couple different flowers. Pretty simple, pretty simple stuff. People just walk by and they won't even notice it, but they would have noticed if there was nothing there. So it's just that kind of thing. We're putting some of these little things out around because I think it looks a little bit bare there. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna copy over that station from the trolley, and we're going to create a completely new station. And this station, can you guess what it's for? Maybe. What do we have so far? We've got a parking area, right? We've got a parking garage. We've got a trolley. But how else could people get to the park that we haven't accounted for yet? If you guessed bus, you're correct. We need a bus. And what better place to put it than at the start of the park? Typically, I've looked at a lot of Google Maps things. That's usually my inspiration for doing all this, is I look at Google Maps images and I see kind of how they lay stuff out, and so then I'm like, oh, wait a second, I didn't even think of that. So bus is one of those things. I just looked at Google Maps and I was like, what is that whole area where there's big loops and stuff? Oh, that's a bus station. And of course, people go on field trips. People come in in groups, that sort of thing. Oftentimes it's cheaper to bring a bus than to bring 50 cars for all your friends. So we're definitely putting down a bus area, and we're using the same exact type of awning. You know, consistency is one thing you see a lot in theme parks, because well, it just looks nice. You can't have a bunch of different styles everywhere. So that's what we're going for with these stations. Consistency is key. So just connecting that bus station thing to the main road there. You'll notice the front part of the bus where the buses are going to come in, that's not yet connected. So you can see kind of the direction the buses are facing now. The front area it's not connected yet, so buses can't actually drive up there. And come to think of it, they never will be able to, since people in Planet Coaster don't drive buses. But theoretically, buses wouldn't be able to drive there. So we'll do that a little bit later. What we're doing here is we're making guest spawners, and this is pretty cool. I'll show it in the real-time part at the end. We've placed guest spawners where the guests should come in from different areas. So we've got the parking garage, we've got the trolley, and we've got the buses. So we've placed guest spawners in all those areas. And what we're doing now right here, and I don't show very much of this, but we're doing a quick pass of barriers. Those little red barriers that are in the game, those actually stop people from walking through an area. So you can see people are just walking through buildings there. We use the barriers to stop that. So I didn't show all that because it took me like 30 minutes to actually get those barriers set up. But here we go. So we've got, you'll see a bunch of custodians running around. I just hired those guys to have them walk around. What we're doing here is we're making a staff building, and I thought of this because I didn't know what kind of building to put alongside that bathroom there, and what I want is kind of like a row of buildings, and that's what we're going to do a lot of in this episode, by the way. Just a big row of buildings along that side. And so this first building, or the second building, if you count that bathroom, is going to be that staff building, and it's going to be where, and I thought of that because the custodians were just kind of, they were just kind of walking around, and I was like, you guys need a staff building, don't you? Somewhere you could go and hang out. And if you think about it, even those ticket people, like they've got their ticket room, but they should also have like a lounge kind of area where they can hang out. So that's what that staff building is going to be for. And we're going to kind of steal the custom roof there so that we can use it on this, but not as a roof. We're actually using it as just a window, like a window cover, something that you'd put on top of the window. A little bit of trouble there trying to add that piece to the building, but eventually we get it situated, and you'll see here we're throwing it in there, and that's where the windows are going to be. So ta-da, windows. I think it looks pretty cool. It adds quite a bit, and the reference images for this were Busch Gardens. So if you go to Busch Gardens and you see this image, you'll know where I took it from. So I like using reference images, and you'll see a lot of the side that we're working on right now, the reference from that is from Busch Gardens. So that the style is used in Busch Gardens. But for the other side, which we'll work on a little bit later in this episode, you'll see that a lot of the style there is taken from Animal Kingdom, since Animal Kingdom is more of a kind of a jungly area. So it's definitely interesting how inspiration comes about for certain buildings. But here we go. So nice door on the front, weird door on the back. The whole idea for that is like what I was saying earlier. The back area is going to be a backstage area where backstage area basically just means where logistics happen. So, and I mentioned this in one of the prior episodes as well, but the backstage area is where like trucks would come in and bring goods and stuff. Don't pay attention to what you just saw there. I'll show a little bit of that at the end of the real time, but don't pay attention to all the people who were stuck in that little spiral area. Basically, when I was testing out the people, some of them seemed to have not been able to move around very much, and they got stuck, but it's okay. So here we go, making a cool little, oh, I was talking about backstage, wasn't I? Backstage area, yeah, that's where trucks come in, they bring goods, or where staff park, that's all backstage. Where you keep, like if you have cones that you use, that's where you keep them when they're not being used, that's all backstage. So what we're working on now here would be the front stage, the stage area, it's meant for the guests, is what I'm trying to say, whereas the backstage is not meant for the guests. We're working on just like a little seating area, once again heavily inspired from Busch Gardens images, and so it's going to be like a custom bench. And the reason I'm working on these benches, getting real benches inside those custom benches, is because if you have benches somewhere, people can actually go and sit on them. So I've got those custom benches with I've got the real benches with those custom benches on top, or the big custom bench on top. That means people can actually go sit on my custom bench because they're really sitting on the real bench, which is underneath. So it sounds a bit confusing, but it's a cool little technique in Planet Coaster that you can do if you want to make a custom like bench. So there we go, little custom bench. I'm heartless. I fired all of the custodians. I had to. The custodians, if you hire a bunch of custodians and just sit there for a long time, like I do when I'm making these Planet Coaster episodes, you'll notice they whistle the Planet Coaster theme non-stop. Like, it's so annoying. At first it's cute, right? You're like, oh, that's the Planet Coaster song. And then like after 30 minutes, you're just tired of it. You can't. So it leads you to do mass firings like I just did. Fired everybody. I'm sorry, custodians. If you're watching this, custodians, I am sorry. You have a job if you come back. So there we go. Little dip in that little custom bench there. And that's going to be for a trash can. I thought it looked pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if in real life you'd have a dip in that for the trash can. It got dark suddenly. Well, that's because sometimes between recordings here, I work on the nighttime area and add some lights to certain things. So, and sometimes I forget to turn it daytime again for a while. Don't worry, in maybe 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to turn it back to daytime. But for now, we're just going to work on this. Now, this right here isn't actually a building. This is a wall, just a standard wall. And it's something that I saw on the Busch Gardens as well. They have, in some places, they don't have a building. They have just a wall, and the wall's there to kind of fill space area. So you have a lot of space, you want to fill it, just throw a random wall in there and throw some foliage in front of it. Goes back to what I was saying earlier. Fill blank areas with foliage. So that's what we're doing here. Adding a little custom kind of thing so people don't go into your foliage like we did with the plants over there. And then we're throwing down some stuff. Now, you'll see in this episode, especially later when we work on like a jungle area, you'll see that I really like that kind of foresty ground, the kind of leaves on the ground, the green leaves on the ground, because it adds a lot of texture to otherwise a flat area, which would be the default grass. So I use it quite a bit in forest areas just to kind of set up the scene before I add in all the trees and the plants and stuff. Working on another building here. This building is going to be kind of an interesting one. So all the buildings so far that we've made have a function, but this one I would say has more of a function than the other ones. So the other building, the one we did before, was a staff building. That one has a function, sort of. Staff go in there and they come out. There's no real interior. Same with the bathroom. There's no real interior. It's just a bathroom in there. This one, however, is going to have a custom interior that we're going to work on. And this is a first for me. I don't ever work on interiors because I don't think I'm terribly good at it, but I'll let you decide once we get there. So first we're going to work on the facade part. There's two parts, the facade and the interior. So this is the facade. It basically, you've got all these fake windows, you've got that fake door, and you're going to have this fake balcony as well. But it's not accessible on the inside. It's just there for people to see it and go, oh, okay, that's neat, right? So it's just a kind of a nice thing to have. So this is the facade part, and the balcony, it took a second. I don't know, does that balcony look right? What do you guys think? It took me a little while to figure out if I liked the balcony. I think I do. I think I like it how it is, but for a second it looked a little bit weird. Maybe, and then it just kind of grew on me, I guess. But yeah, there's our little balcony there. And still working on the facade part. I really love putting ivy everywhere, and you'll notice that we have ivy on the first building quite a bit. I like putting it everywhere just because it adds a lot of texture to the building. Some stuff that you wouldn't really notice usually, but it adds kind of a feeling. What we're doing here is we're trying to add like a shader for these windows. Now, of course, it's not necessary because there's a balcony right over, but I wanted to see if umbrellas could be used as a shader for windows, and it kind of works a little bit, but it doesn't really work as much as I wanted it to, so I deleted those and work on the roof. Roof is simple. You'll notice all these buildings, by the way, the roofs are simple. They're just concrete typically, or wood in the case of the bathroom. And the reason for that is people don't see the building from the top. All they see when they're in the park is they see the facade on the front, and that's it. They don't see the roof or anything on the roof. So we could technically throw air conditioners up there. We could throw satellite things up there. People wouldn't see it because they're down there looking at the front of the building. So here we go. We're about to start working on the interior part of this building. Have you guessed what it is? What do you think it's going to be? Post down in the comments what you think it's going to be before I show. I wonder how long it's going to take you to figure it out. We're making it's a thing that you typically imagine parks would have, but you don't really ever see, right? So picture this. Imagine you've got someone who is vandalizing some stuff, right? Someone who's committing vandalism. Where would you put them if you catch them, right? You need somewhere to put them. So that's what we're working on right now. We're working on, did you figure it out? A security room. It's got multiple uses. It's got tons of uses actually. So a security room, first you've got the security who walk around. This is a place where they can hang out. Then you've got people who commit crimes. This is a place where you could store them. And then you've got people who, like, maybe people got lost. Well, this is where you would bring them. So it's like kind of a lost and found for children kind of thing. So I think it turns out pretty decently, but I'll let you judge when we start working on the actual interior of the place. But here we go, just some detailing on the outside of that building there. And see the style, by the way? The style of the buildings, it's kind of orangish, but it's also got kind of a tan look as well. Well, I'm going to continue that style throughout the front of the park at least. So where the interior here is a security room, the interior for future buildings might be a gift shop, or maybe maybe an information room. So that kind of thing. So we're going to keep the same facade style, but the inside of it's going to vary. So kind of like that. So it's going to be definitely going to be fun. Put your suggestions for what kind of buildings you think. I'm already thinking a gift shop, maybe like a opening restaurant, a bathroom, an information room. But that's really all I've got, other than like for opening buildings. What else do parks have at the front? I don't know. But here we go. We made some jails. You'll see there, they're small, but they're not permanent, right? So these are only these are places where, say you catch someone stealing some stuff, like stealing some candy from a candy shop or something. This is where you'd bring them. You'd throw them in the little jail. And if it's a kid, their parents would come and get them. If it's an adult, the police would come eventually, and they would take it over from there. So small little temporary holding cells right there. Malls have them. Every airports have them. All these places have them because you need places to put people who don't behave. So here we go. Just a little. I'll let you guess what this one is as well. This one's pretty interesting. But think of a security room. What would you typically have there? Well, you'd have the jails. You'd have a place for the police to hang out, and you'd also have a place for them to monitor cameras. So that's what this is. We're having big boxy monitors. So imagine this is kind of an old setup here. And then they're stacked on top of each other. So this would be where a cop would sit. Oh, excuse me. This would be where a hired, not a real cop, but a hired security guard would sit, and they would check on all those cameras for the park. And the cameras would probably switch, and they'd have like, I don't know, how many cameras do you think are in a park? Maybe like 100, 200, something like that, a large number. So they would swap between them, and you'd say, oh, okay, there's something interesting going on there. Call for someone to go and check it out. That kind of thing. Working on a little bit of signage. Cool little trick in Planet Coaster is you can make a sign, and then if you sink it back into the building just right, you can get the words to appear without the background of the sign. So it's a really cool technique that you can use to make custom signs, kind of thing, instead of having to use all the signs that they have. We're going to do a quick little lighting pass on this area. Lighting in Planet Coaster looks a little bit weird. So you'll see, I'm adding lighting, and you'll see light being added, but it does still look a little weird. And you'll notice it when you look up at the top. Where the lights are is black. And this is how you fix it. This is how I fixed it, at least. I basically duplicated the lights and put them down below ground, shining up. Oh, excuse me. I still have to cough more. But yeah, for some reason the lights just look a little bit weird. Sometimes they don't shine light bright enough, so you have to do some weird stuff. And our security sign is super bright, by the way. Those lights help it out a little bit, but there's our security room. Still messing around with those lights, and there we go. I think it looks pretty nice. We're taking away the path because we don't want people to actually like wander in there. But yeah, time for the other side. Now the other side, we had options, right? There it is again, coughing. I shouldn't start a recording when I have to cough a bunch, but you never know. You never know when you do. But here we go. We had options when we're working on this side, right? So we could have continued doing buildings like we did on the other side, but I didn't really want to. I wanted to have something a little bit different. Also, I didn't like the idea of just making a billion buildings. So we're going to work on some foliage over here, some foliage and some scenery here. Now, the first thing we're going to work on here, we're going to do kind of like a cliff, a rocky cliff. And this is going to get deleted. Spoiler alert. So this is going to get deleted, but first it's just like a little cliff that we're working on. But I wasn't really taking into account what I wanted over there. So if I actually think about the park, what I want on the left side of our entrance is going to be Congo land. I haven't really decided the name. The Congo. It's going to be over there. And specifically Congo forest, Congo rainforest. So it's going to be a lush jungle. And it'll have like jungle cruises, and it'll have chimpanzee sound, that kind of thing. So it doesn't really make sense to make a deserty rock structure over there. So what we're doing now is we're just completely reformatting that to be a jungle. And I told you earlier, I really love using those little pieces as the backbone. Now we're starting with bamboo, and bamboo looks really cool. One of the things I wanted to do here is I wanted to obscure vision. Enough so that people wouldn't be able to see, they'd be able to see like that is Congo land, but they wouldn't be able to see past it. So bamboo does a really good job of obscuring vision. And the good thing about bamboo is once you put down one thing of bamboo, you can realistically put down 100 things of bamboo, because bamboo grows very, very fast. I think it grows, let's think about, like, it's something like a couple inches a week or something, or maybe a month. It grows really fast. So, or maybe it was even a day, like an inch a day. I don't know. It grows super fast and it's super invasive. So bamboo, even though it looks cool, it's when you see some of it, you'll see a lot of it. So we're throwing bamboo everywhere. Don't worry, that's not all we're gonna throw down, but it's a good start, throwing bamboo in certain places. So we're doing a little bit of texturing here, adding some rocks and then adding some mud, because that's the kind of thing you would see around like a rocky rainforest. You would see there's mud places, you'd see there's rock places. So here we go, just adding a couple of bushes here so that the bamboo doesn't look like it's standing alone. So just adding bushes pretty much everywhere. I like adding bushes, and I'm not terribly good at making a realistic looking jungle, but what I am good at is spamming certain things. And I guess you can see with those little plants right there, I'm good at just like putting a billion of one thing. Not a billion, but like 10, putting 10 different bamboos down and then putting 10 different bushes at the bottom of them. And what comes out at the end is something that kind of resembles what a jungle would look like. So even though in Planet Coaster you don't have that many trees that you would typically find in a jungle, you do have a lot of different kinds of trees and a lot of different kinds of bushes that you can use. So what we do is we just put those everywhere. We just throw them everywhere, and in the end it ends up looking like what you would imagine a jungle would look like. So, but maybe if you're a biologist, you might look at it and say, you know what, or an arborist, that's the person who deals with trees. You might look at it and say, you know what, those type of trees wouldn't be there. But I mean, we do the best with what we have, right? So I added enough that it would kind of look like a jungle. Little bare area there. I wanted to fill that in with rocks. Coughing's always fun. I wanted to fill that in with rocks and such, just so that it wasn't bare anymore. That's pretty much the goal there. Don't worry, we're almost done. Less coughing will happen, but it's almost done. What we're doing now is a little bit of foliage near the entrance, and this is really to hide some of the gaps in the pathing, but it also does a good job of adding something that seemed like it was missing to the entrance, right? So we're doing some plants, lots of assorted different colors. I feel like this is something they would have. They wouldn't just have one color at a park like this. They would have lots of different colors. And here we're just going to add lots of lavender, because I don't know, I really like, I just really like the color. It just looks really nice, I think. The purple and the green, I think the combination looks really, really good. Finally here, this is the last thing we're going to be doing. Well, not the last thing, but almost the last thing we're going to be doing for this episode. We're going to be working on a turnstile. Now, this is the place where you would go in and you would give your ticket, and they would say, you're good, you can go on in. And after this, you're in the park. So this is kind of one of the last things that we'll be doing before we actually get to work on the inside of the park. Everything we've done up until now is before the park. So we're finally getting to the point where we can work on the inside of the park. And I think that's a super exciting thing for the series. That it's the first time of this whole series. The whole idea of the series is completely new to me, right? Spending a lot of time to make one video, spending a lot of time to work on scenery, being a perfectionist of sorts in a game that's not really meant to be a perfectionist in. This is a whole new thing for me, and I really like how it's going. And so I'm kind of excited to get into the part where the part that actually matters, if you will. The instead of working on logistics, we'd be working on the actual attractions and that sort of thing. So there's our turnstile. I think it looks pretty nice. This little part looks a little weird. I wanted a like a gap for the little ticket, so that's where you'd put the ticket. I want a little gap there, like so that you could put something. But the smallest piece is a coal piece, so we maneuver the coal piece so that it looks like a little slot to put that. There we go. We're just gonna place these all down, and I tried to place them kind of inside or overlapping with the real entrance, so that it looks decent. But yeah, I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. There we go. Kind of a mirror image of the same thing. Just placing that around, and we're going to do a little bit of tweaking with that to make it line up perfectly. There we go. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to set the stage for what we're going to be working on here. So just a couple of paths to kind of to give you an idea of where things are going to go in the future. So those are paths It's kind of like a stepping stone for the next episode. So what's going to be coming up in a few seconds is the real time. So get ready. We're going to hop right in and I'll show you around with what we've done. Welcome back. Let's step into the real time so I can show you some of the stuff that we did in a bit more detail. Now I realized last episode I didn't do a real time section as well, so you didn't get to get a close look at what we did last episode. So real quick, let's go over what we did last episode. Not too much in detail, but I'll just show you around. So Safari Land sign, we did this. We still need to add a couple of things for the staff area. So like maybe an authentication place, like show me your ticket, that kind of thing. So something would go right there. Last episode we worked on a lot of this line work. Now you can notice there's still a lot of line work that we have to do for this area, and I'm kind of dreading doing that because it's so time consuming to do line work, but we'll get it done. Maybe I'll do a live stream. I don't know. We worked on the cars here. We haven't added any more cars to the parking lot, but so far we have some generic looking cars there. We positioned our garage where we want it, so that's pretty good. Cars would go in here. I plan to maybe make a second garage right here. I have a spot for it, so maybe I'll just copy this one over, honestly, because it's a similar spot. Similar sized parking garage could go there. But yeah, this is all the stuff we did last episode. We got some cop cars standing by just in case. I don't know. Do cop cars stand by at a theme park? I don't remember seeing cop cars, but I imagine there would be police kind of standing by just in case anything happened, that sort of thing. Or maybe park security at the very least. We've got this thing right here. We made a little fountain last episode. We finalized this big walkway, and that's pretty much it. Did a lot of this stuff right here. So this episode, what did we work on? Well, we made these nice little flower areas and also this awning for, I guess that's, what is it, an awning or like a roof kind of thing? It doesn't provide very much shade, but it provides enough. Also, it makes this look nicer. I mean, I think it looks better than being just a bare open station. So we've got that little area right there. Bathroom, we did that a while ago. Now we've got this cool little staff room right here, and I think it turned out really nice. I mean, the top looks a little bit weird with this, but people wouldn't see that. They'd see from down here. This is what they would see from their point of view. Imagine you're a person. They're like, oh, look, nice building. We utilized our custom roof again right there that we used in this building right here. Actually, let me turn off. There we go. That looks much nicer. Yeah, we utilized this custom roof as well. So this is a staff building. There is a staff center inside here. So staff will wander in and out of this doorway. So that's a thing. We worked on this nice little wall area. I didn't really know what to put in here because, I mean, there wouldn't be any shops or anything yet because you're not really in the park quite yet. Even though we have a bathroom over there. So this is kind of here just to kind of take up space, and I think it turned out pretty well. This right here is also there to take up space, but it also doubles as a security building, and I'm sure I talked about that quite a bit in the time lapse. But here we go. We'll take another quick look at this. It says security here. There's some jail cells. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Which could hold one or multiple people depending on how many people are bad. And then we've got a little place where a security guard could sit and look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different screens. There's nothing on the screens. They're just placeholders. But yeah, there we go. And so the idea is that if someone's being bad in the park, they'd be escorted here to the front, where they would stay in the jail cell. So for instance, if there's a kid, maybe like a kid who's graffitiing or something, they'd be in the jail cell until their parents arrive. Maybe if there's a kid who's lost, they wouldn't be in the jail cell, but they'd be put right there. And then the police dude would get on the intercom and start asking parents for this person or something like that. So this is where you'd go if you lose your kid, or if your kid's being doing graffiti stuff. Additionally, if you're, I don't know, like a criminal, like an adult criminal, you'd be put here as well. So maybe, what do adult criminals do? You're stealing something from one of the gift shops. You're caught red-handed. They bring you right here. And so the idea is that the police would actually, like the real police, would actually drive up over here, and they would take it from there if you're doing an actual crime. Obviously, kids who are graffitiing wouldn't get sent to jail. If their parents are there, they'd get a talking to or something like that. But while we're on the subject of here, the whole idea for this is, since we have the staff road right here that goes all the way around, the staff parking would basically be anywhere that is backstage. That's where the staff would be able to park, wherever their post is. So we're going to have a little staff parking area right here where all the staff who work over here, they can park there. And so what they would do is they'd come over here, they'd park, then they'd go into this building, get ready for work, and they'd go over to their work shift and do their thing. So yeah, that's where cops would come in case somebody was causing trouble. Another thing we did is we worked on some turnstiles here for the entrance area. I think there's still more to do here. We're not quite finished, but the turnstiles are great for like they make it look better than what it looked like originally. I don't like the default entrances. I don't think they look realistic. It's just a gate. So I like the turnstiles better. All big theme parks have turnstiles, but I want to add some tables here as well. Some security tables where they would check bags and that sort of thing. We worked on a little bit of foliage right here in the front, and I think it looks pretty nice. It's pretty centered as well. We got 1, 2. Ooh, this one is not as centered as this one is, but I don't think anyone would mind. If you mind, tell me down in the comments, and I'll try and recenter things there. Also, coming over, we'll start with this. We've got a bus zone here, so this is where the people would drive up with their buses, and yeah, so that's where every big theme park has a bus zone because people don't always come up in cars. They have field trips, that sort of thing, so that's where buses would be. Finally, on this side, we worked on a little bit of trees here, a couple of trees. You'll see in the time lapse, we started with doing kind of a barren rock area, but then I realized that this is actually where I want the Congo area to be. So we're going to start with a jungle here, so you kind of know as you're walking in, that's the jungle side of things. That's where the Congo river safari thing, that's where that's all going to be over on the left side. So it kind of gives you an idea of the layout of the park just by walking in. You kind of already know that that's the jungle over there. And I didn't really know, I didn't really want to put buildings on this side because we've already got buildings on this side, and I plan to kind of continue that there. And I think the buildings are also going to start on this side as well, coming over in this direction once we get to next episode. Another thing that we did during the time lapse, I don't know if I showed that during the time lapse, but one of the things we did is we actually worked on, let's get into these cars here. If we go down here, I don't know how to get to it. There we go. If we go down here, we've also got some guest spawners right here. So this one's under the bus. So what would happen is the guests would spawn and they'd come up right there. It's going to look like they're rising from the dead, but it works. And we've also got, if we go over here, oops, that's a little fast there. If we go over into our garage here, we've got a guest spawner on the bottom floor. And over here, we've also got a guest spawner hidden down there, so guests can come up this way. So what it's going to look like when the park is open is it's actually going to look like guests are coming from this area, and this area. All of the entrances to the park are going to look like guests are spawning there. So that, I think that's a pretty nice touch. Once everything's working, it's gonna look realistic. So that's it for this episode of Safari Land. Put your comments down below what you think we should do next. I have a feeling what we're going to work on next is going to be the entrance buildings here. We're going to try and get this worked out here, and maybe we'll try and get this bus stop finalized so that it looks more realistic than just being a random place with buses. But yeah, I think we're almost close to starting to build the attractions, and I think we're going to start with Congo Land over here, and then we're going to make our way to the rest of the park later. So if you like that episode, hit that like button, put your comments and suggestions down below, and I'll see you guys in episode number 6.